Andre Rieu had everything: a fortune as big as rock stars, castles fit for kings and queens, and stadiums packed to the brim all over the world. But there was a story that no one saw coming behind all the flashing lights, fancy outfits, and standing ovations. Andre made $40 million from classical music alone, which is something that not even the biggest pop stars can do these days. Then why? Why did his closest family members cry? Would this huge fortune one day be the reason they cried? He wasn't rich at first. He was a kid who loved music when he was younger. Because his dad led the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra, he was always around music and it was a big part of his life. But Andre knew from the start that he didn't want to be quiet in a stuffy club. It was time for something much bigger, louder, and more exciting. People should clap, sing, and get up from their seats, he said. Andre did just that, building it up step by step. It was 1987 when Andre did something very dangerous that could have made him famous or ruined him for good. He started the Johann Strauss Orchestra, which was not just a small group playing quietly for praise. It was a hugely popular and exciting show. What began with only 12 musicians quickly grew to include over 60 artists from all over the world. Andre didn't just play waltzes from the past. He put on shows with a lot of different music. From Strauss to the Macarena. It worked. People really liked it. Ticket books were empty in no time. It wasn't long before he wasn't just packing theaters. He was filling up arenas and venues all over the world. It came in faster than anyone thought it would. By the early 2000s, Andre had done a lot of good things. He sold more records than big bands like Coldplay, AC/DC, and Bruce Springsteen. Every night his shows made a lot of money, and his DVDs sold out everywhere. Fans came from very far away, paid a lot of money, and cheered like they were at rock shows. Andre became the richest fiddler in the world when his business took off and his wealth grew by a huge amount. That being said, Andre didn't hide his money in a bank. Instead, he spent all of his money on making even bigger shows. He put almost everything he owned at risk in 2008 when he designed a $30 million stage for his show at Vienna's Schönbrunn Palace. Fans had hoped that Andre Rieu would make something that looked like something out of a fairy tale. It was covered in gold, crystal, and other fancy details. But that story almost cost him everything. The huge cost almost put him out of business and erased decades of earnings in an instant. Even though Andre had taken chances before, this one almost broke him. But he wouldn't. Slowly, concert after concert, Andre got back on his feet, paying off his bills and making his shows even bigger hits. After a few years, he was richer than ever and smarter and stronger than ever. He turned his shows into global cinema events by streaming them in theaters around the world, which brought in millions more. Fans who couldn't fly to see him live went to the movies and paid a lot to be a part of the action on the big screen. Andre's income didn't just come back, it doubled then tripled, and by 2023 it had reached an amazing $40 million. Not only did Andre make a lot of money though, not only was his wife Marjorie there with him, but she was also his family from the beginning. Marjorie made the costumes, helped pick out the places, and planned the amazing stage sets that were seen all over the world. They worked together to make every show unforgettable, building an entertainment company that turned into a real family business. When their son Pierre became vice president of Andre Rieu Productions, he took on a big role that made the company more like a musical family. People loved Andre's shows, but he never forgot where he came from. He lived in a castle that was built in 1452 in Maastricht. It was a real castle. This wasn't a normal house. It was said that D'Artagnan of the Three Musketeers ate his last meal there before dying in battle. It was something Andre had dreamed about since he was a child, and now he had it. He spent a lot of money fixing up every part of the palace, and turned it into a dream palace, with grounds straight out of fairy tales, priceless art, and sparkling chandeliers. It felt like a scene from a movie, but Andre was living it every day. He didn't slow down, even though he was rich. He kept adding more shows and went on a non-stop tour from the United States and Europe to Australia and Japan. Every year his shows got bigger, his fans got bigger, and his wealth grew. He was no longer just a singer, he was a star. It became a worldwide sensation, and its brand turned into an unbeatable money-making machine. Even with all the fame and glamour, kept one strange habit: baking. During the lockdown in 2020, when shows had to be canceled and millions of dollars in ticket sales were lost overnight, Andre did something that no one expected. He started making cakes and giving them to people in the neighborhood. There was nothing flashy or expensive about it. It was just plain nice. A gentle reminder that the man behind the huge business still cared about people and the little things in life. But Andre's wealth went beyond that. Andre's empire rested on him performing all the time. When he got sick with a bad ear infection in 2010, things almost fell apart again. Doctors were surprised that he hadn't been sick sooner, given how busy he was. His family finally understood how easy it was to lose this wealth. Everything they built based on how healthy Andre was. One illness or trip cancellation could cost them millions of dollars right away. Even though there was a lot of pressure, Andre got back up and kept going. He refused to slow down and was determined to keep the music and the money coming in. Still, the stress got worse. Fans saw a happy Andre acting with ease, but behind the scenes his family was having a hard time running a tens of millions dollar business and taking risks that no one knew about. Every big show was a risk that cost a lot of money in set designs, venues, bands, and advertising. Any loss could put everything at risk. You made Andre. Then there was another secret. Andre didn't just make a lot of money from performances. He had been quietly spending millions of dollars in high-end homes all over Europe to build up a huge real estate portfolio. Many of his fans knew about his Maastricht castle, but not many knew how big his real estate business had grown. The Maastricht castle wasn't just any old house. It had a very important past. It was built in 1452 and used to belong to Charles de Bot's Castelmour d'Artagnan, who inspired the famous musketeer from the Three Musketeers based on real people. But Andre thought this place wasn't very fancy the first time he saw it. He went inside for the first time when he was 6 years old to take piano classes. And I promise you it wasn't love at first sight. It was dark, broken down, and felt a little scary, not at all where you'd want to live your best life. But after many years that creepy old castle became the center of Andre's kingdom. He turned his Maastricht castle from a dark wreck into an amazing fairy tale-like estate. And filled it with the kinds of luxury items that most of us only see on Netflix. Take the Stradivarius violin he has. This was not a normal tool. Andre bought it in 2018 for a huge £7 million. It was made by Antonio Stradivari in 1692. This was his third Stradivarius. One of the first ones he owned was from 1667 and was made by Stradivari. It was hard to play though. But Andre made the difficult sound of it work for him, using it to make some of his best albums. Having more than one violin worth $1 million, he liked more than just music. He was way ahead of everyone else. Andre didn't just live a fancy life with instruments. He was in charge of every aspect of his shows, even the clothes that his band wore. Those beautiful dresses his female musicians wore. Andre created each one by hand. These dresses, which were based on real people like Empress Elizabeth of Austria, were not cheap. Each one cost about £3,000.
Yes.
That's dozens of musicians on each trip. It starts to make sense why Andre was once in debt because of his stage ideas. Yeah, going bankrupt. Do you remember that crazy stage set he made for his 2008 shows in Vienna? It was an exact copy of Schönbrunn Palace, right down to the ponds, ice rinks, gold carriages, and fancy ballrooms where dancers performed. That sounds epic, right? Epic isn't free though. What a waste of £34 million that Andre spent on it. It wasn't just one set, he made 3, and took them on tour around the world, going through cash at an amazing rate. It was bright, it was great, but it almost killed him. Andre finally met with his bank manager to talk about what they could take out to pay off their huge bills. Still, he got through that tough time, and came back even stronger. This guy couldn't be stopped, or was he at home? Things seemed calm, at ease, and even normal, or at least as normal as life could be in a real house. They had 2 boys together, Marc and Pierre, and were married to Marjorie since 1975. On the walls of the castle, proudly hung family pictures that took them back to simpler times when Andre was just starting out. But now even his family was important to his empire. Marjorie wrote the scripts for his shows, putting words to the music that moved millions of people around the world. Their younger son Pierre really stepped up, taking over as vice president of Rieu Productions. Families got together for dinner, but it was really a board meeting. At every meal, work was mixed with family time. But even though Andre lived a fancy life and ate lots of tasty desserts, his childhood wasn't exactly happy. It wasn't easy to grow up in a small crowded house in Maastricht with 5 brothers. Even though his dad led an orchestra, he didn't show him much love. Even tougher was his mum. Andre thought they were envious of his natural ability, because he learned to play the violin beautifully in just a few weeks after he was 5 years old. He got through the hard times by making music, but the scars stayed with him and pushed him to be more successful, get more praise, and spend more money. When Andre first started out, it was clear that he was driven to prove himself. In 1978, he put together his first group, which was made up of just 12 players, who played at weddings and small restaurants. It was hard to get money. People in the audience hardly noticed them. Sometimes they didn't even look up from their food. Andre almost quit singing altogether. He even joked about opening a pizza place instead. Imagine Andre Rieu bringing pizza to Paganini's table while playing his violin. But luckily for his millions of fans around the world, he kept making songs. Andre changed things about his group in 1987, making the well-known Johann Strauss Orchestra. He looked up to Johann Strauss, who was the first waltz king, and showed that artists could also be business geniuses. Strauss had 5 musicians playing at the same time. Andre finally chose one huge orchestra, which is now the world's biggest personally owned orchestra. They went on tours all over the world, playing to sold-out crowds in America, Asia, and Europe. Andre's fame took off quickly, and suddenly during a memorable soccer game, in 1995, Andre was smart enough to buy 1 minute of live TV coverage during halftime of Ajax's game against Bayern Munich in the Champions League final, to play his music. The goal for Ajax came just before break, just the right time. A lot of people watched Andre play Shostakovich's Waltz in 2 live on TV. He sold more than 200,000 CDs the following week, taking him from a local musician to a world star in an instant. His whole life changed when he scored a soccer goal at the right time. As dreams got bigger, they came true. Andre spent a lot of money to make his shows the most amazing things that could happen. There was fake snow, balloon drops, and fancy ball dresses. There was a lot of fun at every show. He was known for making sure that real champagne was served at shows, even though he didn't drink it himself, just to be real. Fans loved seeing the show. Some critics raised an eyebrow. He didn't care though. He didn't want any tricks or lies. He wanted the truth. Even with all of this comfort, Andre kept things real. It was his favorite color. In comics, he learned Spanish by reading crime books during lockdown, and he still loved a simple toy truck from his childhood. It wasn't just a toy, this truck. It made him think of the good old days when he and his brother Robert used old wheels and scrap wood to make cars. But Andre wasn't just a rich collector who lived in the past. He was focused on what was to come. With 60 musicians and a huge staff of helpers, Andre's orchestra was bigger than ever. It was now the world's biggest private orchestra. He had even bigger plans. He wasn't happy with selling 40 million records or being the biggest classical star in the world. He aimed to do something that no artist had ever done before. He really wanted to hold a show on the moon. Yes, you did hear that right, the moon. There was no joke in Andre's mind. Even billionaire Richard Branson, and he talked about building a hotel on the moon's surface. Branson promised to do it. He is known for having crazy plans. Who is Andre? It was his full plan to bring his huge Johann Strauss orchestra up there to play the first concert ever held in space. It sounded crazy until you remembered that this was the person who made classical music sell more than Beyoncé and Metallica. Andre Rieu was the only person who could make a concert on the moon happen. However, how did Andre get to be so crazy successful and driven? Well, Andre built his orchestra all by himself, while most classical groups get their money from schools or wealthy donors. In the late 1980s, he had almost nothing. He only had a crazy dream and a few people who believed in him. From the start, Andre took a lot of risks. Since he didn't have any sponsors or government help, he put all the money he made from records and ticket sales back into the orchestra. Today it costs him at least $1 million a month to run this huge business, and that doesn't include the money he spends on tour. That meant that every show had to be sold out, and every album had to be #1 on the charts. If not, everything would fall apart quickly. Andre had about 110 full-time employees, such as musicians, lighting techs, and cooks. He also hired 100 freelancers around the world to help with planning, travel, and marketing. It wasn't just a business, it was his second family, and they went on trips all over the world together, putting together and taking down huge stage sets in cities from Sydney to Mexico City. 9 huge trucks were needed for each city, each full of lights, outfits, instruments, props, and other gear. He and his crew worked non-stop. They would often start putting together the stage from scratch at 7 a.m. and take it all down right after the 3-hour show ended around midnight. Behind the scenes, it was hard, disciplined work that made every show seem like magic to the people who were there. Andre was very strict. He didn't let anyone act like a rock star. Don't go to wild parties. Andre himself slept before every show to stay awake, and his team took their own cooks with them so they could eat healthy meals on the road. He knew that one bad show or night of being tired could cost him millions of dollars and hurt his image. Andre insisted on having a party with his band after every show. No crazy champagne parties, just nice wine and chit-chat. For Andre, this wasn't just work, it was what he lived for. This never-ending work attitude really paid off. Even in this day and age of streaming and digital music, Andre's albums sold a huge number of copies. His record company, Universal Music, had been working with him for more than 20 years, and the results were amazing. Andre sold more than 40 million albums around the world in 20 years, which is a... Even though many people said DVDs were dead, Andre's fans still bought millions of them every year, especially ones that were filmed at his famous summer shows in Maastricht. He carefully edited these videos at these performances every year, and fans rushed to buy them. This proved Andre's view that his fans always wanted something real they could hold in their. Andre was more than just a great guitarist. He knew exactly what his fans wanted, and was a great performer. He often put out the Mead records, like his famous collection of movie themes, which had huge hits like My Heart Will Go On. Andre said he didn't write much original music, because he liked to change up well-known songs and add his own unique style to them. This method has always worked. Each record he put out was a big hit, which helped his empire grow, and made sure that all of the musicians and crew members were paid on time every month. But it wasn't easy to keep up this level of success. Was under a lot of pressure all the time to keep selling records and filling places. Without backers or donors, every choice he made was very risky. He had to keep going even when there was a world pandemic. Andre turned gears when the concerts ended and baked cakes for his neighbors and the community. This kept him happy and connected. He planned even bigger projects during the free time, like the big movie show he planned to celebrate his 75th birthday in 2025. The event, called The Dream Continues, showed acts from Andre's global tour that had never been seen before. They were shown in movie theaters all over the world. This was a big party to honor his amazing life, from being a kid dreaming in Maastricht to becoming a world hero loved by millions. Andre never tried to hide the fact that he worked very hard, was disciplined, and took risks that no one else would have. Edgar Kochman, his Jewish father-in-law, had a huge impact on him through his 300 vinyl tracks, which introduced him to music he had never heard before. These records shaped his style and made his shows available to millions of people who never thought they'd like classical music. At Andre shows, songs like Havana Gila, a Jewish klezmer tune, were huge hits. Over 14 million people watched him sing this song on YouTube alone. Andre played all over the world, even in Israel, where he got standing ovations when he sang popular Israeli songs like Jerusalem of Gold. Andre never forgot where he came from, even with all his success. He celebrated his 75th birthday in style by having his whole orchestra play on a big boat party that went through his hometown of Maastricht. Fans all over the world joined him through movie theater shows. Andre did something that no one thought was possible by putting together performances from decades of Andre's memorable shows. He had a huge private orchestra, was famous all over the world, and had a fortune that made his family both happy and scared.